Alright, Earthlings, welcome back to the Thundering Dice channel with Sven and Ian, the Thundering Dice brothers. And late to the party as always, but still here, we're going to talk about the new Superman, the James Gunn 2025 Superman. And Ian, over to you. What did you think?
I thought it was a good second movie, not an opening movie. Because you have an interest, the intro gives you the 33 years Superman lands on Earth. 33 months ago, he debuts himself to the world. 3 hours ago, he suffers his first defeat. It sets the tone and the pacing of the movie well enough, but it sacrifices all the intros that movies need to have to set the overarching tone of the whole of the whole movie. Because since everything's already happened before this movie, and Lex already knows Superman, he already hates him. Lois and Clark Kent are already together. Clark is already a reporter at the Daily Planet. He's already been giving himself interviews about himself. So all these things, and he's already met Jimmy. So all these things have already been set, leaving you kind of wondering. Not wonder, you just thrust into the story without
The middle of the story,
yeah,
not the beginning of the story.
Yeah, exactly. So I was left really confused when I first saw it. I was just like, wait, is Lois and Clark, are they together? And then when the first kiss after the interview happened, I was just like, okay, so they are. Kind of awkward. I don't really get why, because you can't just show two people already in. You can obviously, but if you show two people who are already in love without any, especially if you're talking about Superman and Lois Lane, without any context for how it happened, the storyteller in me is left wondering, why did they get together? What are the circumstances? Why are they still together? It's like a show me, don't tell me sort of scenario. So when Superman gets his ass kicked really hardcore in the middle with his parents' message, the consoling moment between Lois and him feels rather contrived, because I don't feel that there is a connection between the two characters great enough to explore in the dynamic that is set. So that scene was the best part about that scene was the funny little space imp in the background that the Justice Gang, or whatever they're called, are fighting, and then Clark and Lois are talking, and it's a cool dynamic between the two scenes.
That is probably the best relationship scene in it, I guess, if there has to be one.
Well, there sort of does, because you need to show his connection.
There is a connection between
the two. That there is a connection. I just didn't think it worked well enough. Another criticism I have is that I would say you could sacrifice 40% of the action to create 40% more story, because this movie has basically no story minus Superman reacting to Lex Luthor's moves, which is fine to a certain degree, but it means that if you're looking for something a little more in-depth, and I know Superman doesn't need to be completely in-depth, you don't need to Snyderverse the fuck out of it, but a little more than just a dribble of morphine would be nice here. And then plus also, there's so many characters that if you don't know the lore or read the comics, you're like, who is this? Mr. Terrific, great. Not a completely obscure character in the comics, obviously not, for all my comic book friends out there. But if you've never read the comics and you're watching the Superman movie, Mr. Terrific, who the hell is Mr. Terrific? It just you just get thrown out there, okay, cool, this is the dude, he's got a T on his face, he's got these things called T-spheres, he's apparently really smart, kind of a jackass, but comes to Superman's aid when, cut rate Nathan Fillion doesn't want to, and Hawkgirl also doesn't want to. Once again, those two characters, Hawkgirl and the Green Lantern version of Nathan Fillion, just thrown in there. If you don't know anything about Hawkgirl, you're who's Hawkgirl? What does she do? What are her powers? She can fly? Alright, what else can she do? The Green Lantern one is a little more self-explanatory, because, you have not Nathan, you have Ryan Reynolds fucking that one up a couple decades ago.
But at least it was in the pop culture.
Yeah, but it was in the pop culture. But if you don't know these things, you're just kind of thrown into them, and you're just whoa, this is really interesting, but who are all these characters?
What's funny is, listening to you say all that stuff, I realized that I am the person who was thrust into it, because I don't know really any of the lore for it, so I didn't have any context for any of these characters. And I find myself realizing that it didn't matter to the experience whatsoever. I didn't find myself ever questioning who are these people and why they're here. They were there, and it was fun. And Nathan Fillion playing a weird bowl-cutted Green Lantern trying to start the Justice Gang was pretty humorous.
Oh yeah, loved it.
Mr. Terrific, I was like, oh my god, it's the Mormon intern from House. Holy shit. And he ended up being a fun character, and I didn't really miss not having a backstory. So I was fine with the accessory characters just being there and being thrown in there and, teaming up and doing some cool stuff to save everybody. I 100% agree that it's felt like we started in the middle of a story and not the beginning of a story. But that also makes me think back to one of the best DC movies of all time, the Batman with Michael Keaton in the 80s. And when you think about it, that was not a origin story either. You were thrust into Bruce Wayne, aka Batman's life, when Batman is fully formed. He's already kicking some butt. He's throwing lavish parties. You literally even know what he looks like until he sort of like surprises Vicky Vale kind of stuff. So it's another movie where you don't start with all the a lot of the information is meant to be implied, or it doesn't matter too much, or they expect that the people who are watching it know enough about it that they know Batman has a traumatic past. And we're not going to set a whole origin story up for how he became Batman, how he started learning all this, karate moves from the 80s he was practicing, because none of us wanted to see that, let's be honest. So, yeah. And it was a perfect movie that way. There's a lot of mystery around Bruce Wayne that is slowly revealed. You have him going to the corner of the alley where his parents are killed, and then the story is told that's where his Vicky Vale gets told by the other reporter that's where his parents died, so he's kind of messed up, and you might want to stay away from him. And so you get spoon-fed this information over the course of the movie, but you don't start with any of it. So it's not really fair to compare this Superman to that Batman, because they're not in the same league of movie. No offense to this Superman movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I want to make that really clear. It was really colorful. It was really engaging. It had humor. It had a lot of gratuitous CGI action with really obvious scenes to hammer home the point that Superman doesn't want to create collateral damage during his fights to, I guess, distinguish this Superman from previous iterations of Superman, where everything just gets fucked every single time. So
no, yeah, that is one thing I will say. James Gunn does a good job of like trying to make sure Superman doesn't want the collateral damage. Because if you just watch Henry Cavill go against either Zod or Doomsday in Snyderverse, my God, he never even gives a second thought about all the civilians that are going to die. He's just like, no, I'm just gonna throw you into this building and call it good.
Yeah, yep. So that was funny.
My biggest highlight of this Superman is definitely Nicholas Hoult playing Lex Luthor. I think he just had so much fun playing that character. You could just see he just does a great job of really hating Superman for just being
existing. Yeah, he's just a jealous bitch.
Yes, and he just straight up admits it. Maybe a little too on the nose for Lex, because he should be a little more
self-aware.
Yeah, he should be a lot more narcissistic about his hatred of Superman. But I kind of found it a refreshing version of Lex. He's like, yeah, fuck it, I'm jealous of you. I'm just gonna go with it. Let's kill you now.
And adding the whole wrinkle that the second half of the recording was somehow commanding him to take over Earth, create a harem of women so that he may create a large family of Kryptonians on Earth to rule in perpetuity. It was just weird.
Really weird.
And I think it'd be perfectly conceivable to just make it so that Lex Luthor was the one who altered it. That's perfectly fine. The story wouldn't change at all, really. Lex Luthor still presents it. It still gets validated by 114 whatever expert teams. I'm sure he has the resources to fool everybody. Let's just assume he does.
I mean, no,
because it's Lex Luthor and it's Superman. We can do that. It's okay. We're not talking about a grounded, realistic, gritty Superman like Batman Begins or something like that.
We got
fuck.
Starts
out with a goddamn CGI dog playing on broken Superman. We know the tone of the movie instantly.
Yeah, and then taking the silliness away. Lex has he creates his own pocket dimension. He clones Superman, so you already know that he's the scientific wherewithal within Lex Luthor is way beyond just simple coding and making a message sound correct. and authenticate.
Yeah, if he can do all those things, yes, he can manipulate some data in some way.
Yeah, wouldn't be hard.
So they should have done that. It should have been and then he still has the whole Superman against the world, Superman against Lex Luthor, and now he gets to prove that it's not real, or somehow it comes out.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter, I'm a different person," like it's just a different message you're trying to make. But in the end, it's still a thing that he could have been saying, because he would have believed until a point where it was proven otherwise that this was the case now. So. Yeah. And then you could have had a little more of Lois being like, no, you, like, I don't know, more encouragement. Like, this is bullshit. Let's dive into this. Like, I know there's foulness afoot. And so she could still have been involved. And they still could have had to save him from the Pocket Universe, because Lex Luthor still could have imprisoned him there with the crazy dude, with the pretty awesome, like, be whatever the hell you want powers, you know? Be all you can be, but really, kryptonite included, so...
Yeah, and it would have worked really well, because then Lois could have had done some more journalism, and that could have been like her main play, uncovering the truth about that message, what Lex did. I mean, this is what I mean. Sacrifice 40% of the action for 40% more story, and the story would have felt a lot more viable as a realistic alternative to all the other interpretations of Superman. And I mean, of course, also, you have to remember, like, it took James Gunn 2 years to figure out the character of Superman. He's said this in interviews, and it kind of shows because of these small, little, glaring problems.
I wish there had been a little bit more of the charming, slightly bumbling, inconspicuous Clark Kent.
Yeah, he just...
It's one of the fun aspects of Superman, that this giant, ripped dude can somehow, like... pass as this mild-mannered like floor mat of a reporter. You know, it's great. And Christopher Reeve actually did a really good job changing his body language and his posture to make himself look more unassuming.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, just standing up straight to be Superman, which should be a lesson to all of you guys. Posture is important.
Definitely.
And, you know, ditch that suit and get yourself a cape.
Until that cape gets caught in a revolving door and then you get gunned down, or you get sucked into a jet engine.
Or don't they even make that joke in this movie about, like, go for the cape when they're talking about the giving the instructions when they're flying after Superman?
Maybe.
I thought I remembered that.
I don't.
There's a lot of stuff happens in this. Like, it's a action-packed, colorful, relatively endearing Superman movie with a villain that lacks in story but not in acting abilities. Chris Holt does a good job. There's a lot left on the table for that character. His motivations are way too simple. I think just, I hate you because you're way better than me and you're not human, so I'm going to do all this stuff just to get after you, in addition to manipulating all this into like a war/genocide in a made-up Eastern Bloc country with a crazy frizzy-haired looking dictator.
Yeah.
So that he can then have a part of this land, so that he can have it to himself, and he can have his Luthortopia or something. That's way convoluted, a lot crazy, and seems really, really pointless and redundant, because people of means in this world can buy that kind of shit now. Like, okay, maybe you can't say you conquered your planet or your whatever, your land, yeah, but you can go and buy as much fucking part of Hawaii as you want, like Zuckerberg, and make yourself a compound, and essentially it's the same thing. Or just buy yourself an island, or, I don't know, use your immense amounts of space-bending technology to just build an island out of nothing in the middle of the Atlantic and control a climate and just actually fuck off. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it. But then there wouldn't be a story, so I'm being silly.
Yeah, yes. But for the most part, though, it was definitely a good interpretation of Superman, minus the few lore-breaking moments. It was definitely enjoyable. I don't regret watching it.
I think it was fun to watch in theaters, especially. I think that's one of those films that really does deserve to be seen on a big screen, because when you go at home, unless you're just, you know, those people with your home theater setups and a reclining chair and a sound system that could be heard 4 blocks over, you're not going to get the same experience watching it at home.
No.
So I recommend going to see it while it's still in theaters. It'll be worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
And just don't think too hard about it. Don't expect too much. in-depth story and hard-hitting questions and really a lot of personality beyond the small glimpses we see of him in sort of private-ish moments.
Yeah.
Other than that, have fun with it, because I think for a summer blockbuster action superhero movie, it succeeded on all the things that I care about for that movie. Just going with that expectation that it should be a fun kind of thrill ride, colorful, not very long, engaging, more action than you could possibly enjoy, I guess, actually. But
for a post-Endgame superhero movie, it's good. That's the way I'll put
resounding endorsement from one of us.
Yeah.
We bid you fond farewell. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you feel like it, go check out our Patreon, where we're slowly adding things that only can be seen there.
Wow, that was a great shout out, right, guys? Excoriate my brother in the comments if you make it that route. That's the lamest Patreon shout out you've ever done.